Hi, this is Matt in Singapore, and the topic of this video is nutrition. And not sex, this is nutrition. Sex will be part of
Sex
another
on the
video.
beach. That's the topic.
And more specifically, what is the core set of knowledge that you can use in order to make better decisions when it comes to food. Nutrition is a fairly complex topic. There's a lot of research being made about it. It's quite confusing. At the same time, most of the decisions we make are based on traditions, culture, habits, pleasure. Quite confusing to work out what's optimal for the body, depending on your personal goals, whether it's gaining muscle or losing fat or improving the performance of your brain. And when you have a specific goal in mind, there are models you can use in order to help you make the decisions. And some of the models are oversimplified. So for instance, with the calorie counting technique, which consists in saying, okay, if I want to lose fat, what I have to do is to burn more calories than I take in, which is an oversimplification, doesn't quite work like that. And then there are other techniques based on emotion, such as guilt. So a lot of people do this. Hello, hi.
Hello. Hi.
How is it?
Yeah,
Good?
fine.
If you look around and browse a few books on the topic, physiology, biology and nutrition, you can work out a small number of quick rules of thumb that can be useful in everyday life. Okay, so what are those rules? Well, let's go through them one by one. Number one, avoid refined carbohydrates. Number two, eat lots of vegetables. And number three, do not avoid fat. So let's look at the first rule, avoid processed carbohydrates. So what's wrong with carbohydrates, and what is it? What's a processed carbohydrate anyway? So what is the common point between this, and this? Well, all this stuff, pasta, cheesecake, bread, they all share the same chemical pattern. They all belong to the same macronutrient family called carbohydrates. All carbohydrates share the same structure, more or less complex chains of saccharides, starting with the simplest one, glucose, fructose, all the way up to the complex starches. When you eat raw sugar, that contains sucrose, which is a disaccharide that breaks down into glucose and fructose. When you drink milk, that contains lactose, it's a disaccharide. Things like bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, this contains complex starches. They are very, very long chains of polysaccharides. Now, what they all have in common is that from the point of view of your body, they eventually break down into glucose. Your body only uses the end product, the smallest unit, which is either glucose or fructose. Whichever food belonging to this family you eat, from the point of view of your body, it's all the same thing. So why the distinction between refined carbs and non-refined carbs? Well, actually, when we talk about non-refined carbs, we talked about the actual food stuff that happens to contain mostly carbohydrates. But because it's non-processed, it also contains other things, useful vitamins and minerals, which are essential for a number of functions inside the body. So if you eat sweet potato, it's not for the starches, it's actually for the vitamins inside. So what are they useful for, those carbohydrates? What will the body use them for? It's a macronutrient, so it's a group of foodstuff. There are other macronutrients such as proteins, fats, and then you've got the micronutrients, minerals and vitamins, and they're all used for a lot of functions inside the body. However, carbohydrates have only one purpose, and this purpose is to be used as energy. And it's actually not any form of energy, it's a special type of energy. It's a type of energy that's to be used on the spot. If it's not used on the spot, it's actually going to be stored in the body for the long term in the form of fat. It is very hard to eat just the right amount of carbs without going over the excess limit, because carbs are always available in very, very large amount. And the typical amount that you would eat, like drinking a glass of orange juice, this goes way up. So are they useful today? Well, yeah, they are, as long as you either eat very small quantities of them so that you don't go over the amount that your body actually needs on the spot, or if you binge on them exceptionally, which used to be the case at the time when food was scarce and where sugars were very, very rare. You're going to binge on blueberries and your body is going to turn the excess sugar into fat, which is good because it will allow you to see out the winter. Next question, are they necessary? Well, the answer is absolutely not. So are you gonna fall into a coma? You're gonna turn into Gollum? No. This system of energy burning based on glucose is not the only one. There is another mechanism. But over the past 2 million years, in the context of food scarcity, finding anything with sugar was exceptional. There had to be another mechanism to sustain the energy release, and that mechanism still exists, and it's the fat burning mechanism, even though we're not most of the time using it because of the fact that sugar in all its forms is available all the time, everywhere. So we don't get the opportunity to use the fat burning mechanism. Next question, and that's the interesting one, are they dangerous? Glucose metabolism it's an exceptional mechanism. It's also an emergency mechanism because it's very easy to reach toxic levels of glucose in your blood. And so it's going to be the role of insulin to rid the blood flow from the excess glucose. It is poisonous. Now, does it sound like a good idea to use an emergency mechanism on a daily basis? No. And there is actually some research indicating that daily consumption of sugar has a link with cardiovascular disease because of oxidation and because of the inflammation, not because of fat. Cancer. So sugar does not directly cause cancer, but cancerous cells thrive on sugar. So they develop faster if there's a lot of glucose in the blood. Alzheimer's. So the problem with Alzheimer's has to do with glutathione, which is normally there to detoxify the body and remove in particular mercury. It's also an antioxidant. If glutathione is overwhelmed by its deoxidant function, it will not be able to fulfill its detoxification function with regards to mercury. That leads to a breakdown of a number of chemical reactions in the brain and eventually to the formation of plaques in the brain. So that's Alzheimer's. So it's been a long video. I will cover the other two rules later. In conclusion, what's useful with having guidelines is to be able to make decisions quickly. But really, it's not about applying the rules to the letter that would be pointless. What's interesting is to understand the mechanisms behind the rules. So to understand what happens inside your body whenever you eat such or such type of food. That's really what's interesting.
Yes, I hope you're not bored with it. It's the first time I hear the same thing. What is the difference between this, the common thing between this, and this, and this, and this, oh, and this as well? They are all chains of saccharides.